Was good, ballers? This is Jim's Ballin' back again with another video. Bit of a different video, but I wanted to share my thoughts on the playoff seeding in the NFL, and I think some changes it needs to make, and I think it really needs to change starting next season, just the way that all the rankings kind of turned out this season and the way it's been in the past. Just, I think it needs to change for the better. And I guess we can start off by looking at the playoff picture currently right now. Number one, the Lions, they have the best record. That makes sense, right? Number two, we have the Eagles, they're 14-3. And this is where things start to get a little bit weird, a little bit shaky, right? So number three, we have the Bucs at 10-7. Number four, we got the Rams at 10-7. And then at number five, we have the Vikings at 14-3. Why a team with a worse record is higher than a team with a better record? It's because they won their division, right? And as you can see, the Bucs and Rams even have worse records than the Commanders and the Packers as well. So what the change I want to do is not allow division winners to automatically have the first four seeds. That's personally what I think. And so if we made it so that division winners aren't automatically the top four seeds, this is what it'd look like if it was just purely based only on record. If you win your division, you're not guaranteed a top four seed. This is just the top seven based purely on record. And so you can see it looks a lot more fair. This isn't a perfect science. I didn't run through like all the tiebreaker options, but this is like something it would look like, right? The Lions and Eagles still number 1 and 2, but the Vikings would move up from number 5 up to number 3, and they would be guaranteed a home playoff game too with this. And based on their really good record, I think it's deserved. And you can see the Bucs and Rams, even though they won their division, they're down at 6-7 just because they have a worse record. And I think with this layout, it's just a lot more fair and it rewards better teams, gives them home playoff games. And let's take a look at the Vikings versus Rams. This is a wild card matchup we got for next week. Minnesota is 14-3. And Los Angeles, the Rams are 10-7. But based on the current playoff seeding, LA is the home team, even though they have 4 less wins and they're the higher seed. The Rams are 4 and the Vikings are 5. And I will give the Rams some credit. They did beat the Vikings in the regular season. They do have that win over them. But just purely based on the records, Minnesota is the better team. They have 4 more wins than the Rams, but Minnesota is a lower seeded team. And I think that's just kind of ridiculous. Just the way that the current playoff seeding works, it rewards bad teams while punishing good teams. Like, just because you win your division, it shouldn't be that you're guaranteed a playoff seed. And it should also not guarantee that you get a home game as well. Like, the NFC North this year was stacked, and Minnesota is just being punished for being in the best division in football, right? While the Rams, they played in the NFC West. It's really not that good of a division, and because they won their really bad division, they get rewarded for that. They get a home playoff game because of that. You don't really get to choose what division you're in, and just because you win your division shouldn't mean that you're just guaranteed all these perks because of that. And I guess we can take a look at the AFC as well. Currently, we got the Chiefs at number 1, Bills at number 2, Ravens at number 3, and this is where things get a little bit weird. Got the Texans down at 10-7, but they are ahead of the Chargers, who are 11-6. Then we got the Steelers and Broncos. And if it was just based purely on record, it could look something like this. Again, I didn't look up all the tie-breaking scenarios, so the Texans could actually be even lower than number 5. But this seeding does change things. It would give the Chargers the actual home game over the Texans. And I think it's deserved for the Chargers because they played in a much more difficult division and they have a better record than the Texans. The Texans are just being rewarded for winning a terrible division, which really isn't all that fair. The current system rewards bad teams and punishes good teams. And if it's just based purely on record, not what division you're in, it just results in a more fair seeding. It gives good teams in really challenging divisions a chance to still get a home playoff game. It's really easy to be really reactionary after the Vikings lost their last game to the Lions really easily. It's a really bad loss. The Vikings didn't look really good, but at the end of the season, they still ended up with 14 wins and they have a really low seed. All credit to them. They deserve a much higher ranking than the number 5 seed. And this is coming from a Lions fan. It'd be really easy to point and laugh at the Vikings, say, ha, you lost the division. You deserve that really shitty seeding. But I know if the Lions ended up losing that game and my Lions were the 5 seed, I would be absolutely livid at how the seeding works right now, to not have a home playoff game, to have to play 3 straight games on the road to win those for a chance to make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, the current system is ridiculous. Like, there's only a 1-game difference between the Vikings and the Lions, right? But that 1-game difference, the difference between that is the difference between a week 1 bye in the playoffs and having home field throughout the entire playoffs up until the Super Bowl. That's what the Lions get. While the Vikings, no bye, 3 straight road games to make it to the Super Bowl. The difference between those two is immense. That is a huge difference for only 1-game difference. It's honestly kind of ridiculous. And honestly, having the seeding based purely on record, it ends up being a better product for the NFL as well. It means that less teams are resting starters in week 18. Like, you look at last week, the Rams, they were able to rest all their starters in week 18 because they already locked up their division, so they already locked up a playoff spot. So they didn't really have anything to play for. If it's based purely on record, whether or not they win that game could make a difference in the seeding. So they wouldn't already be locked up in their seeding. They wouldn't already have a locked up playoff spot, so they'd have to play their starters week 18. They have to be more competitive for better seeding. Or looking at the Texans, they ended up resting a lot of their starters as well. They did end up winning their game, but they didn't really play too many of their starters for that long. And that's because the Texans, they were already guaranteed a 4 seed. If all of these teams aren't already guaranteed their seeding in like week 18, if it's based purely on record, the seeding can change a lot in week 18. So that would have to mean that teams would have to be a lot more competitive in week 18. They wouldn't have to rest all their starters in week 18. They'd have to play a lot harder to win those games to get better seeding. And more competitive games equals better games, you know? If you're the NFL, you want to have these teams have their best players in, playing hard, being more competitive, because that results in better games. So having the seeding based purely on record, it makes teams more competitive and it makes a better product for the NFL as well. So now you might be asking, what about the divisions? I think that the NFL can still keep the divisions and the NFL schedules can still be the same, can still have the same rivalries between divisions, but that doesn't mean a division winner is automatically guaranteed a playoff spot. But I personally believe it should just be based on record, not divisions, not have division winners be automatically given a playoff spot and even a home game. Like in the past, there have been division winners with a 7-9 record, a below 500 record, but still win their division and have a home playoff game. That's still a thing that could happen, and that's honestly really ridiculous. Like I said, looking at this year, there could have been a team that was below 500 and still make the playoffs and still get a home playoff game. Like, let's look at the NFC South. It's a really bad division. Let's just say the Bucs ended up winning that division with an 8-9 record. They still would have been ranked higher in the seeding than the Vikings, who had 14 wins on the season. That can still happen, and honestly, that system is kind of ridiculous. And let's just say division winners are still guaranteed a playoff spot, okay? I'd be okay with that. I think we could allow division winners in, but not have them guaranteed a home game, not guarantee them a top 4 seed in their conference. I think it could be similar to college basketball. For college basketball, 32 teams receive automatic bids to the tournament by winning their conference tournament. So if a team ends up winning their conference tournament, that means they're automatically in the NCAA tournament, right? But just because they win their conference doesn't mean they're guaranteed a super high seeding in the tournament. It doesn't mean that they're automatically given a number 1 seed in the tournament. There are conference tournament winners with the absolute lowest seed in the NCAA tournament. Like, you still make the tournament, but you have an insanely low seed because your conference is really shit. And I think you could apply that to the NFL, right? Like the example I said earlier, let's just say the Bucs won their division with an 8-9 record. They're below 500, right? They won their division. You say they should make the playoffs. Okay, then give them the 7 seed. Give them the lowest seed because they had the worst record. You won your division, you make the playoffs, all right? But you have a really shit division, really shit record. You get the lowest seed, but you're still in the playoff. But yeah, this is just my opinion. I think the seed in the NFL right now is just kind of busted and it just really isn't fair. And it gives bad teams home playoff games, which they don't really deserve. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know your comments down below. This has been Jim's Ballin', and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.